But you taking the leap here. You got this. All right, let's share. So let's do this. Let's do this. All right. All right. First is the ASD cognitive profile. What do we know about that?
Where-
Are you asking about like diagnostic criteria? Oh,
What do we know about that ASD and WISC? Like as far as just just anything you know about it.
Well, um, they're very direct, concrete with their responses.
Okay. What else we know?
verbal comprehension scores can either be really high or really low.
Okay. All right. What do we know about uh like PRI, VSI, FRI when it comes to this and WISC pertaining to ASD?
I
Fluid,
vaguely recall that comprehension was one of the lower areas.
Okay.
and then fluid reasoning was the other area of that. I don't remember if it was higher or lower.
Okay. Right. It would be FR is lower. I mean higher, sorry, excuse me. So when it comes to this, children diagnosed with ASD frequently demonstrate a highly uneven or jagged cognitive profile. All right. So rather than reflecting a uniform intellectual defect, their scores often reveal a significant intra-individual discrepancy between fluid, nonverbal reasoning abilities and processing speed. All right. And this is with ASD. So, specifically, individuals with ASD routinely score significantly higher on PRI. And so, basically, the equivalence for the WISC 5 would, and I still think the EPP is still doing WISC 4 testing. But as far as WISC 5, the equivalence to that would be the visual spatial index, was the VSI, and the fluid reasoning index, was the FRI. All right. But they have pronounced vulnerability on PSI, processing speed. So the PSI score is low. All right. That doesn't mean a lack of intellectual capacity, but it captures underlying neurodevelopmental deficits in rapid visual motor integration. All right. As well as graphomotor mechanics, executive control, fine motor coordination. All right. So in a clinical vignette for EPP, if it's describing a child with ASD, expect a split or jagged profile. Look for high PRI, VSI, FRI. So that's visual, split, spatial, and fluid reasoning, and low PSI. Also look for low working memory, valleys. All right. So you have a rock bottom, PRI, or you have uh, a valley of working memory too. And again, don't misinterpret a low PSI for low overall intelligence. All right. Or test noncompliance. It's just a classic cognitive phenotype of disorder. All right. All right. Next, we have minority stress model and allostatic load, which I know about that. Anything about minority stress model? Anybody?
I'm drawing a blank. I know we went over this, but
Mhm. All right. So it posits that individuals from marginalized social groups experience chronic, unique, and additive psychological stressors. And Anon and Carolyn, just message me. Are you on the Beastslayers group? Okay, just message me and I'll message you the video of this. All right. All right. All right. So when an individual, all right, so as far as just the minority stress model, okay, experience chronic, unique, and additive psychological stressors as a direct result of their stigmatized social status. Okay. So these stressors are categorized into objective external conditions, which are macro level discrimination and interpersonal microaggressions. And subjective. So that's the objective, and then you have the subjective, which is internal processes such as expectations of rejection, vigilance, and internalized oppression. All right. So it chronically activates the HPA axis, and it prevents the body from returning to a biological baseline, resulting into an allostatic load. And the allostatic load is the cumulative long-term psychological wear and tear. That's the big um, term that you want to learn, that you want to know for that psychological wear and tear on cardiovascular, endocrine, and immune systems, directly translating systemic social oppression into objective biological vulnerability and somatic illness. All right, so that's allostatic load.
I
So if a
think
go ahead.
I think I remember reading something about the LGBTQ community and the minority stress, if like that being one of my questions.
So basically, any type of like any marginalized social groups. So they feel like they're stigmatized, and so therefore it affects their HPA levels, and they experience psychosomatic uh, conditions because of it. All right. So you'll distinguish on the HOP between structural, institutional discrimination and interpersonal microaggressions. All right. So what do we know about the Zeigarnik effect? Bueller? Go
I
for it,
think
Kim.
sorry for my English again,
Yeah, you're fine.
but I think we have a better memory for things we didn't get done because of the tension that the anxiety that it caused you because you didn't finish this task
Mhm.
compared to the task that we finish, for example, a to-do list,
Gotcha.
if I'm correct.
hmm So remember, so individuals remember uncompleted or interrupted tasks significantly better than tasks that have been successfully completed. All right. So the initiation of a goal-directed task creates a state of psychological tension and inner cognitive demand. So this tension serves to keep the task details highly accessible and active within an individual's working memory architecture. All right. So once the task is completed, the psychic equilibrium is restored. All right. Cognitive tension dissipates, and then the brain systematically purges the immediate details from the active working memory because it's completed. So if a task is prematurely severed or blocked or artificially blocked, The unresolved tension forces intrusive thoughts and persistent mental reminders of the unfinished business to surface. All right. So Zeigarnik effect is like a cliffhanger mechanism. It's also so like if you are studying a study tracking student memory, an app designer designing software, a clinical case of a client experiencing intrusive thoughts about incomplete life events, that's when you're getting into Zeigarnik over like serial position effect or isolation effect. All right, what do we know about bars?
It's definitely an IO.
Okay.
Oh.
Yes, that's answer C on the EPPP, question number 57. It's definitely in IO.
Oh, it's something, it's a rating scale.
Okay.
And so I just can't remember specifically, but let me see, looking at I know it's used often. Like EPPP does like this question, a question related to this.
Hmm.
Oh my God. Um,
No one about bars,
since
nothing.
Yeah, I mean, anchored, I'm assuming that it has to do with there's a starting point that everyone's based on. I don't know.
Good try. Definitely good try. It's fine. All right, so it is designed to combine the qualitative benefits of critical incidents. And we know what critical incidents are? No. Carolyn, you do?
Yes, it's when I think we observe people and based on behaviors, good one and bad ones, and the supervisor can rate them based on if it's a good thing on the job or a bad thing.
All right. Um, so developing a bar, so that's the critical incidents, and the quantitative is traditional graphic rating scales. So it combines critical incidents with graphic rating scales. So developing a bars requires a rigorous job analysis. So the supervisor identifies specific observable job behaviors that represent varying degrees of performance, ranging from highly ineffective to highly effective. So these concrete behavioral descriptions serve as the explicit vertical anchors along with numeric rating scale. So by forcing a rater to match an employee's actual performance against vivid objective behavioral narratives rather than ambiguous subjective descriptors such as satisfactory or excellent, bars systematically minimize systemic rater bias, including leniency, central tendency, severity, and the halo effect. All right. Y'all know what those terms are? Leniency effect, central tendency effect, halo effects.
So Halo is rating everybody good, high, no matter what, and
Or
leniency
low, or low.
or
So
low.
yeah, so when you think of halo effect, it's not only positive. So basically, with the halo effect, if someone's late all the time, I'm going to give them a 2 on ability to administer in-basket tasks efficiently, right? Because they're late. So my perception of them is skewed and flawed because of one thing that they do. All right. And of course, positive was like just because, we're friends, meaning I'm gonna grade you high. You know what I mean? So, all right. Anybody else? What about central tendency or leniency?
I think central is when we rate everyone in the middle. Like if it's a scale 1 to 10, we rate everyone 5.
Hmm.
Leniency is the one when we rate everyone high, and severity is the one when we rate everyone low
Cool.
on the scale.
Alrighty. Um, all right. What do we know about therapeutic drug monitoring? and lithium index.
Very narrow in well, therapeutic threshold.
Yes. Good job.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Um, I don't know if anybody else wants to jump in.
All right. Arica's taking the lead tonight. Good job.
Trying, trying. So it's very easy to have the toxicity symptoms. Wow. Obviously, renal clearance. That means they constantly have to go to the bathroom, right? Like they get dehydrated. Um, Sodium levels are I think their legs swell because of like the sodium and everything.
Mhm.
They can vomit.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep. Blood concentration is required to achieve therapeutic effect is danger close to the concentration that triggers severe, life-threatening systemic toxicity. So lithium carbonate is a gold standard mood stabilizer for bipolar 1, and it possesses an incredibly tight therapeutic window. All right. So because lithium is an element excreted entirely unchanged by the kidneys without undergoing hepatic metabolism, any fluctuation in renal clearance or hydration or sodium levels can cause serum concentrations to spike into toxic ranges. So that causes neurotoxicity, permanent renal damage, cardiac arrhythmias, seizures, coma. All right. So lithium has zero liver metabolism. Okay. It's a pure salt and handled entirely by the kidneys. So whenever a question links lithium to safety, look for answers emphasizing its narrow therapeutic index. Okay. Renal clearance or the absolute mandate for regular serum blood draws via therapeutic drug monitoring. All right. Next, AVPD. What cluster is it?
a or hold on. I'm getting mixed up. Avoidant.
Cluster C.
Correct. Cluster
Okay.
C. Yep. Yep. Lifelong pattern of extreme social inhibition, profound feelings of inadequacy, and intense hypersensitivity to negative evaluation, criticism, or rejection. So individuals with AVPD view themselves as socially inept, personally unappealing, and inherently inferior to others.
Is this the one where they want or they want the social connection but they
Yes.
can't?
Yes. So
Okay.
they deeply desire social relationships and romantic connections. However, their overwhelming fear of being mocked, rejected, uh, or embarrassed forces them into chronic social isolation. Okay. Right. So the diagnostic differentiator is for AVPD is desire versus fear. Okay. Think about that. So a lonely person who avoids parties but wishes they could fit in, that would be avoidant. All right. Um, so expect items to force you to distinguish AVPD with social anxiety disorder. But social anxiety disorder, the anxiety is often more situational or performance linked, though highly comorbid. And schizoid, where there's zero social desire. All right. Next, what do we know about criterion contamination? Mine's like, what the heck is this going on?
So IO and stats is like my lowest scores.
Gotcha.
And every time I get these, like convergent validity, co-con convergent, like it just trips me up.
Mm.
I literally honestly used ChatGPT yesterday to re-explain me type 1, type 2 errors, and I keep
Mm.
getting stuck on like fail, null hypothesis. So looking at this, I'm excited we're talking about it.
Yeah, awesome. All right. So criterion contamination occurs when it comes to psychometrics and IO. When an objective measure used to evaluate performance or an outcome is artificially influenced by factors that are completely irrelevant to the actual construct being measured. So a criterion is intended to be a pure reflection of an individual's true job performance or skill level. However, if external, uncontrolled variables infiltrate the appraisal process, such as a supervisor's personal bias, a pre-leaked copy of an assessment exam, or a superior machine equipment given to only one factory worker, that's when the resulting data becomes contaminated. So it artificially distorts the validity of the measure, it makes it impossible to determine whether high or low scores are a reflection of actual ability or merely an artifact or systematic outside error. All right. So think of garbage in, garbage out when it comes to contamination. So relevant factors sneaking into an evaluation tool and driving scores up or down unfairly. All right. Let's get to hierarchical treatment paradigm for anorexia nervosa.
I don't think I've heard the hierarchical treatment paradigm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think about Minuchin with the family and the systematic stuff, but I'm not sure I view those phase.
Gotcha. Okay. Anything else? Right. Right. So when it comes to um so basically when it comes to like severe um NS, um so the clinical treatment paradigm uh it describes a strict hierarchical sequencing of interventions based on immediate medical necessity. All right, so that's basically what it is. So when a patient presents with extreme emaciation, a critically low BMI, all right, um, bradycardia, and dangerous electrolyte imbalances, the absolute first clinical priority is physical stabilization, medical refeeding, and weight restoration. All right, that's the first line when it comes to what's the hierarchy of like first line and then subsequent um, uh, things. So that's the first line. All right. So severe starvation induces widespread neurocognitive defects, emotional blunting, and rigid obsessive compulsive thinking styles that render traditional psychotherapy completely ineffective. So until the brain and body are nutritionally rehabilitated out of an acute stress zone, then cognitive interventions targeting the body schema distortion or systemic family therapies um, can be processed by the client afterwards. Okay. All right. So again, medical safety beats psychotherapy every single time when it comes to first line of anorexia. All right. So ignore options for like CBT or psychodynamic therapy. Look for like medical hospitalization, stabilization, or refeeding when it comes to from like the first line. All right. All right. What do you know about cognitive affective processing system or the CAPS model? Nothing about CAPS. All right. Here we go. So CAPS, Walter Michel and Yuji Shoda. It's a comprehensive framework within personality theory that challenges traditional static trait approaches. So CAPS posits that personality is an organized system of what's called CAUs, interconnected cognitive affective units. All right. Um, includes an individual specific cognitive schemas, encodings, expectancies, beliefs, deeply held goals, and emotional states. That's a part of the CAUs. So rather than acting uh, identically across all environments, an individual's personality interacts dynamically with specific situational features. So when a person encounters a situation, it activates a unique configuration of these internal CAUs, and that's based on past experiences and genetic temperaments. So this explains why an individual can exhibit highly stable behavioral signatures that manifest as predictable if then situational contingencies. So if threatened in public, then they become aggressively defensive. But if criticized at home, then they withdraw. So think about those if thens when it comes to CAUs and CAPS. All right.
Do we need to know about any disorders related to CAPS or?
Not that I know of when it comes to disorders. I know that CBT is common when it comes to modality, but not that I know as far as disorders are concerned. All right. All right. CBPR, community-based participatory research. What do you know about that? Jen is frizzed over there. Anon, Carolyn, anybody?
Is this
Jen?
where a lot of the ethics questions come into play? Or no? Or I'm thinking about this wrong.
No, this is
Okay.
more like social.
Okay.
So yeah, so this is an egalitarian collaborative research that fundamentally alters the traditional power dynamic between academic investors and research participants. So maybe you're thinking of ethics when it comes to like research. Okay, gotcha. Um, so rather than treating a localized community or marginalized neighborhood as passive objects of empirical study, CBTR treats community members as equal expert partners throughout the entire life cycle of the project. So, from the initial conceptualization of research questions and the design of data collection methods to the active interpretation of the findings, implementation of interventions, and co authorship of final reports, controlled is shared equitably. All right. So, the approach prioritizes social action. It builds sustainable local infrastructure. It builds deep trust and ensures that psychological research directly benefits the community being evaluated. All right. So look for equality, shared control, collaboration between academic researchers and community members when it comes to this. All right. So the answer would be CBPR. When they want a like citizens directly, like leaders, bringing like leaders or clergy or like citizens directly into a research. All right, to co-design a study. That's CBPR. All right. So this is research and social. It's a combination of those two domains, or yeah, those two domains or subdomains. All right. What do you know about bulimia with comorbid substance abuse?
Hmm.
I feel like there's something with the serotonin. I don't remember if it's good or bad with this disorder.
Okay.
Is it too low serotonin? I
All
think.
right. What else?
I mean, they can display normal range of weight, so you can't really
Yep.
trust weight.
Mhm. Yep.
Um,
So they have reoccurring episodes of binge eating. All right. So that's what we do know about bulimia. All right. So it's followed by inappropriate compensatory behavior such as self-induced vomiting, laxative abuse, excessive exercise. So comorbidities, like, so basically, like, while acts as one comorbidities like MDD or GAD are highly prevalent in its population, the co-occurrence of severe substance use, so particularly alcohol, stimulant, or sedative misuse, that represents a critical marker of extreme clinical severity. All right. So longitudinal data demonstrates that bulimic individuals with comorbid substance use disorders, um, I'm sorry, comorbid. So bulimic individuals with comorbid substance use disorders exhibit much higher rates of behavioral impulsivity, borderline personality traits, and treatment noncompliance. Most critically, the combination of frequent purging, again, that induces severe like electrolyte imbalances and hypokalemia, kalemia, and substance intoxication. It creates a compounding physical toll. So it dramatically escalates the statistical risk for lethal cardiac arrhythmias, as well as accidental overdose and completed suicide attempts. All right. So when you're thinking of like the highest factor for mortality, medical crises, and suicide in a adolescent or adult with bulimia, think of substance abuse or misuse. All right. So Ethiopia asks you what co-occurring condition significantly worsens the prognosis or alters the treatment plan for a client engaging in severe binging or in purging behaviors. All right. What do you know about differentiating somatic and factitious conditions? So somatic symptom disorder, what's that? Versus conversion disorder versus factitious disorder. So let's start with SSD. What do we have there?
they're actual physical symptoms that have been objectively observed. They're real,
Mhm.
not oh yeah.
So generally experienced and are not under voluntary or conscious control. All right. So they're generate through unconscious physiological mechanisms. All right. I'm sorry. That's yeah. So both of them symptoms SSD as well as conversion disorder, specifically conversion disorder. All right. So when it comes to factitious disorder, This is characterized by the intentional, conscious, and deliberate fabrication, exaggeration, or deceptive induction of physical or psychological symptoms. So, secret ingestion of toxins or manipulating medical tests. Always think of sick role when it comes to factitious disorder. So, assuming the sick role to gain medical attention. So, or if the symptoms, if the are the symptoms consciously fake? If no, think of somatic symptom or conversion. But if yes, ask why. Is it for eternal rewards like money or skipping work? If yes, lingering. Is it just to be a medical patient and get attention? If the answer is yes, then you think of factitious disorder. All right, so that's the differentiation between between those. All right, that is it. Spend the next 8 or so minutes. Where'd y'all go? All right. 8 or so minutes asking questions. All right. I'm not sharing anymore, am I?
No.
Okay. All right. Start with based on what we said here. I'll read the chat and y'all all play it. All right. Let's get to this one.
We gonna call.
Jen, how you doing over there? Cool hand.
Doing okay.
Doing okay?
Thanks for asking.
Feeling a little fried.
Yeah,
Mm.
a little bit.
What
Just a
time in
lot
the
of
morning?
anxiety. What's that?
What time in the morning?
2 o'clock in the afternoon, but I have to
Oh,
drive two
oh,
hours.
oh, afternoon.
Dang.
Okay. All righty.
Busy day tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah. A psychologist designs a web-based productivity application that deliberately interrupts users mid-task, leaving a visual progress bar incomplete. The psychologist predicts that users will experience intrusive thoughts about these unfinished tasks far more frequently than about completed tasks. This application leverages which psychological phenomenon? The von Restorff effect, the Zeigarnik effect, the Premack principle, the Stroop interference effect.
Can we say it out loud or do we type it in
Yes,
the
y'all just all talk about it out loud.
Zeiger effect? Okay.
Y'all agree? Yes, no, maybe. We need engagement, people. Let's do this. What else? Who else?
I agree with B.
B.
Me too. Yes.
Okay. Yes, Cybernic. Right. Right. Next. A large hospital chain wishes to overhaul its performance appraisal system for nursing staff to minimize leniency, central tendency, and halo effects. The consulting psychologist develops an instrument that combines traditional graphic rating scales with specific narrative examples of job behaviors that illustrate varying levels of performance, such poor, average, superior. This technique is known as bars, BOSS, MBO, or forced choice checklists.
A.
Bar.
Bars. I'll tell y'all something. Y'all got bars by saying this correct answer. Very nice. All right. Next. Right. 45, excuse me, 45-year-old patient diagnosed with bipolar 1 disorder has been maintained on lithium carbonate for 5 years. The attending psychiatrist requests regular therapeutic drug monitoring, serum blood draws, which of the following best explains the primary physiological justification for strict clinical adherence to TDM with this specific agent. A, lithium has a broad therapeutic window, but its clearance rate fluctuates randomly across the Diurnal cycle. Lithium has a remarkably narrow therapeutic index, meaning the dose required for mood stabilization is dangerously close to the dose that causes systemic toxicity and renal neurological damage. C. Lithium undergoes extensive first pass hepatic metabolism via the CYP4502D6, use that as a lottery number, pathway, which is highly polymorphic. Or D, lithium levels must be monitored exclusively to verify patient behavioral compliance, as it has no active physiological markers of toxicity.
B.
B.
Anon, see, look at see Aman, right?
Yeah.
Aman, yeah. So Aman is like coming out swinging. She's like the pinch hitter. She's like the
It's just temporary. But what happens is on the real thing or prep chat, when they really trick you, that's when I'm like, oh no, I get to 50%. I'm like, it's either this one or this one, and then I get it right or then I get it wrong.
but now you know that by the end of the test,
I
you
know
will
these.
have all of them right. Just
Yep,
like
I
this,
like
just
that.
like here. Yep. So a 28-year-old male presents to a clinic reporting that he desperately wants to make friends and find a romantic partner. However, he has not attended a social gathering, party, or public venue in over 5 years because he's absolutely convinced that people will instantly judge him as awkward, stupid, or physically unappealing. He feels inferior to everyone he meets and chooses isolation over the risk of rejection. Which personality disorder is most strongly indicated? A. Schizoid, B. Avoidant, C. Paranoid, or D. Schizotypal. Schizotypal, either or.
B.
B.
B. Glad y'all listening. I'm glad y'all listening to me. All right, here we go. Next. An organizational psychologist evaluates a new supervisor training program. The company uses an objective, standardized management exam as the ultimate criterion for success. However, the psychologist discovers that the exam questions were accidentally leaked to half of the participants 3 days prior to testing, artificially inflating their scores. In psychometric and research terminology, this error introduces what? Criterion deficiency, criterion contamination, reactivity or the Hawthorne effect, or differential attrition.
B. B.
B.
Yep.
Right. So these questions are just a review of what I said, which is good. Now I'm gonna throw one in there about Barry. just to get y'all thinking a bit. All right. A first generation immigrant from a collectivist culture relocates to a highly individualistic Western country. Over time, the individual completely relinquishes their heritage, cultures, values, language, and social networks, adopting the values, customs, and behaviors of the host nation entirely. According to Barry's model of acculturation, this strategy is classified as A, integration, B, separation, C, assimilation, or D, marginalization.
Is it C, assimilation?
C, I would see.
C.
All right, good. You got a whole class of this.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm like, is it A or is it C? I'm trying to go back to,
It was a while ago, though.
yeah, it was a little bit, but
Mhm,
they reject their entire.
mhm.
Um, I'm thinking about it in stages. I mean, it seems like assimilation would be more appropriate because integration, I feel like that would be the first stage. You're just integrating a little bit.
Okay. So that is assimilations when an individual highly rejects their original culture. So that's the beginning. of various models of simulation. So, all right, let's do some
Sure.
lifespan. Ready?
Mm.
Yeah. Let's do it. According to comprehensive public health and sociological data, when a progressive neurodegenerative disease like Alzheimer's dementia strikes an older adult living in the community, the primary, most frequent, and formal caregiver is statistically most likely to be a hired licensed private duty nurse, B, an adult daughter or spouse, C, a male grandchild, or D, a court appointed public guardian.
Is it B?
B,
Yeah.
yeah.
It would be B. Good job. All right, last one. Hmm. Hmm. I could get. Yeah, let's go home happy, right? Let's do. I think. I hope. Let's do it. Individual raised in an unpredictable environment develops an implicit cognitive schema that the world is inherently unsafe and people are fundamentally untrustworthy. Consequently, when encountering an ambiguous facial expression in a social setting, the individual experiences sudden physiological arousal, such as amygdala activation, interprets the expression as hostile, and responds with defensive aggression. This complex interaction best describes a linear, unidirectional, biological, deterministic pathway, C, CAPS, where stable personality structures interact dynamically with situational features via mediating cognitive and emotional pathways. C, a pure operant conditioning chain devoid of cognitive appraisals. Or D, the James Lang theory of emotion, proving that thoughts occur only after behavior is executed.
That would be B, I think.
B, I'll give you that for the team. Good job. B is caps. Good job. All righty. So these, let's see.